Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ahmed Mian. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
Hello.
And today I kind of wanted to bring up a topic that has been weighing on me. It's the discovery of a new genre or discovery of a new kind of game that sort of broadens your horizons. I realize that's kind of an abstract concept, but recently I have been playing, and I guess this is one of the games I've been playing that I'll get to at the end of the show, but I've been playing Disco Elysium. And I recently learned that that game is a CRPG or computer RPG. And quite frankly, I didn't even know this genre existed prior to playing this game. So I just kind of wanted to bring up like video gaming is such a vast medium with so many genres, right? And like whenever someone tells me like, "Oh, I don't like video games," well, I tell them, "No, that's not true. Like there's just that's like saying you don't like TV shows or books, like there might be certain kinds of TV shows or books or movies that you don't like, but I'm sure there is a video game for everyone."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring up like, have you guys gone through this process? Like, we've all been gaming since we were little, right? So it's just amazing to me that like I'm 27 years old now, and I just discovered a new genre of gaming that I had never been privy to before.
I mean, I wouldn't say I discovered a new genre, but you kind of saw me like acknowledging that I like some JRPGs a couple months ago on the podcast with Dragon Quest XI, and I went back and played some of the older ones and had a good time. And
Yeah, but you had prior experience with
I had
JRPGs, right?
strictly negative prior experience, yes. Like I knew the
Well,
genre
yeah,
existed, but
yeah. And I guess genre might be a little too broad. Like even individual games that sort of give you a new perspective on something right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because like there are games that like redefine a genre, and I could say like, yeah, I mean those I've played and those are amazing, but like I played them when they came out, so I wouldn't say that I discovered something to experience, like you may have with CRPGs
yeah.
just now.
And like I definitely make a concerted effort to try things that I've never tried before, at least when it comes to video games, right? Like I'm not much of a fighting game fan, but I tried to use Dragon Ball Fighters as my gateway into fighting games because I love Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, I figured out that fighting games, aside from Smash, really aren't for me. Like I definitely don't think I'm hardcore enough to like go into training and grind out combos to get to the point where I'm good enough to really enjoy myself in those games beyond like the very surface level. And that's okay, like at least I put forth the effort to learn that about myself.
yeah, yeah. I also you brought up this topic, and I was trying to think of stuff for it for myself, but like I really do give basically every genre a shot, you know.
Have either of you guys ever played CRPGs in the past?
I have.
I mean, give me a rundown of what a CRPG like. What is a CRPG? What are some examples of them?
So Disco Elysium is one. I know Divinity Original Sin 2 was another, and I know Baldur's Gate is one, I think.
Yeah, the thing is,
Knights of the Old Republic.
no, not Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and Knights of the Old Republic is more of a WRPG, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I classify them under Bioware RPGs. CRPGs are typically top down, like Wasteland or
Yeah. So yeah, it was like top down. I don't know if isometric is the right word,
isometric's the
Yeah.
right word.
but
I think there's a lot of mechanical overlap between a CRPG and a pure roguelike. Like not like the Binding of Isaac, not like Spelunky, but like Rogue
Well,
or NetHack.
yeah. So I
Like,
guess this is a kind of interesting conversation because my experience to this genre is limited to one game, so I probably have a very narrow perspective. But at least where Disco Elysium is concerned, like it was interesting to me because like on paper it did not seem like a game I would enjoy. Like there are basically no mechanics in the game. The mechanics are basically walking around and talking to people. And I don't know if like I don't think that's what all CRPGs are, but that's the one I played, right? But like I think one characteristic of the CRPG is like the multiple lines of dialogue in a way you can like respond to a character talking to you. Basically like, like a tabletop game, right? Like uh there are like these checks for all sorts of things like for combat and for dialogue and stuff like that. And typically your dialogue is laid out in lines like maybe like someone says something to you and you can pick up one of like five or six responses and
oh,
like
like OG Fallout. Like
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah,
Fallout 1 and
exactly.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those are characteristics of CRPGs, but again, I can't be too sure because I've only played one of them.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a genre that's really surprised me that I'd like because I don't really hate any genres. I mean, I'm the kind of person that plays really, really obscure German simulator games.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's pretty rare that I like a racing game, but I really liked Burnout Paradise.
Yeah, and I know like racing games, like in and of itself, can be divided into several genres, and I think the only one I really have experience with is like kart racing, like
Yeah.
Mario Kart and stuff.
I don't mind kart and arcade racers. So
Yeah. But yeah, like I don't know, the simulator ones, I think I've tried them in the past and they didn't really click with me too much, but
just go drive.
yeah, just go outside and
drive.
drive.
I mean, I guess a car is a lot more expensive than a gaming PC and a simulator, but it's also less practical.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I
when
think
is
the appeal of
anyone
those games is like driving really nice cars in crazy venues, right?
or trucking?
Yeah. Well, I feel like if trucking is a thing you really want to do, I feel like that's not a
I mean, truck simulator is a thing, right? That's a game.
yeah. Yeah, but that's not the loftiest aspiration if you want to just actually do it. Like I mean, I'm nothing against truckers. I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
I feel like most people, if they really wanted to become a trucker, could probably do it.
I don't know. I feel like there is like a sort of mundane curiosity of like doing boring things in video games that make it fun, like
Oh, for sure. Microsoft Flight Simulator for me,
Yeah.
for sure. But flying a plane is somewhat out of my reach.
Yeah, I mean, like games like Farming Simulator exist, and like there's so many farming games, as a matter of fact. But it's so weird that like something like that would be so appealing,
Yeah.
Like, but it is.
Yeah,
So
I
many
think
people like the farming games.
Stardew Valley is probably another pretty big jump outside of genres that I typically like because I don't love most Harvest Moon games. I played one as a kid and liked it, but any of the newer ones I've hated. But Stardew Valley caught me real hard.
Well,
But I mean, at some point,
Stardew Valley, yeah, I mean, like it's
a
more than
masterclass.
just
Yeah.
it's more than just farming, right? Like there's farming that's part of it, but like it's more about like
The relationships, and the town.
the talking to the townspeople and like finding cool things to do there and just sort of discovering that world.
Yeah, I'm having trouble thinking because I play such a broad. I mean, actually, the last time this really happened to me, I don't like competitive games too much.
Yeah.
But Rocket League, I expected to hate it when it first came out. I remember seeing it and thinking it was like the stupidest flavor of the week type deal. Because it was free on PlayStation Plus or something, and everybody had it and was playing it. And I went over to a friend's house and instantly fell in love and bought it the same day.
Yeah, Rocket League. Yeah, those kind of games are definitely rare, right? Like the ones that seem like they're just like video game the game, but
Yeah.
end up being really, really good and having staying power.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a million times I'd have told you that about Fortnite too.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the new one from EA that we all just
That stupid
destroyed?
dodgeball game.
Yeah, the dodgeball one. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That
not going
just-
to light the world on fire though.
yeah, and they're really trying. Like, I see YouTubers being like paid to play the game and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. It's really funny.
That's EA. They
It's
can
just
afford it.
wild to me, like games like that. Like you have a huge company like EA backing it, right, and like throwing God knows how many dollars at popular celebrity YouTubers to play this game, whereas like a tiny game like Among Us, just by virtue of being like really fun and just has the quality of catching on
And sticking around
due
for
to
a
how
couple of years
social
to
it
be
is.
noticed.
Exactly, yeah. Something like Among Us advertises itself.
Yeah, I'm looking through my Steam library and I don't
Yeah.
see anything that really
Yeah.
meets your.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this might be a sort of like obscure topic, but Disco Elysium just made such a strong impression on me, man. Like,
Yeah, I've
I
heard
just-
insanely good things about it.
Yeah, this game came out. Okay, it came out in 2019, and they just released the final cut, which is the version that came out in 2021. And if I had played this game in 2019 when it came out, it would have easily been my game of the year that year.
Mm.
Easily.
No, you're forgetting Outer Wilds came out that year.
Okay, I haven't played Outer Wilds yet, so. But I've heard I've heard in a couple.
It was
of
a big
places-
toss-up that year between Disco Elysium and Outer Wilds between a lot of people.
And I've heard a lot of people compare the two games in
Yeah.
a sense. So that's even more fuel on the fire for me eventually playing Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
it,
intend to play Disco Elysium. It's been on my radar for a while. I can
it's
say with
so
100%
like
confidence it will not compete with Outer Wilds for me.
yeah. So Connor, I don't know about just knowing your kind of preference in games. This is a game where you walk around and talk to people and
Yeah.
click on things, right? Like there's no mechanics.
I
And I
mean, I'm
know
a big connoisseur of the walking simulator. I love I played Gone Home early in its lifetime. I played Firewatch. Loved What Remains of Edith Finch. Outer
yeah,
Wilds could
yeah, this
almost be
game
called a walking simulator,
yeah,
but there's
this
a little more to
game
it.
yeah, it's different. This game isn't like any of those games, but it's similar in the aspects, I guess, of walking simulator, but I don't want to call it that because there's I don't know, there's like more of an exploratory nature to this game. I'll get into it a little bit more at the end and I'll be very careful to not
I
spoil
mean,
anything.
I'm also really big into, and pardon my French, but art house indie shit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
And
that definitely is a genre in and of itself.
I'm pretty sure Disco Elysium fits into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah.
Actually, there is a genre I don't like: walking simulators. I just can't.
Really, I love them.
I can't play with one.
It
I need engaging mechanics. That's not
I respect that
move.
opinion, but I feel like some walking simulators really great on me, but I feel like the majority of the ones I played I've been into. But I can understand the perspective from a strictly mechanics-based standpoint because there are no mechanics, and if that's the reason you play video games, then you're kind of out of luck there. You
There's
know?
also a lot of pretty bad walking simulators out there because, like, as far as like genre difficulty for a game to develop, walking simulator's pretty low.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Like, if you can get the 3D
I
models and
mean,
the voice acting,
walking simulators are, I think, live and die by how good like
it's purely writing.
yeah, the writing is absolutely, and the writing in Disco Elysium is some of the best I've ever seen, like
Yeah.
in a video game or otherwise, you know. So
Hmm.
I think that's partially why it made such a strong impression on me.
Yeah, the only walking simulator I think I've really played to completion was Dear Esther, and it left such a sour taste in my mouth that I never want to try the genre ever again.
I liked Dear Esther.
It To me, it just radiated like pretentiousness.
Oh
It
yeah.
felt like the game
Oh yeah.
itself was trying to like be like, look how cool I am when you're crawling along like
Was Dear
a
Esther a
foot
paid game
a
or was it
minute.
free?
It was a paid game.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been. If that game came out tomorrow, it would be free to play. Like, yeah, that
No
game did
way.
not have enough going on to be worth any more than like $5. I would say that. I think I got it for free. I think it was in a humble indie bundle or something.
Yeah.
So not free.
That's where I got mine.
You know, there was another game in that bundle I wanted.
Okay, so yeah, I don't want to belabor this point if we don't have many examples, and I'll circle back to Disco Elysium at the end. There's another kind of piece of news I wanted to highlight, so I guess a little preamble. Like, this is no secret to everyone. I love Sony. I love Sony games. I love their first party games. They're my favorite games. Okay, that out of the way. Sony lately, it seems to me, is making so many wrong decisions. It just makes me kind of hang my head and like hope for things to get better. You know, like just this is coming from a Sony fan. Like it feels like Microsoft's making all the right decisions and Sony's making all the wrong decisions. And maybe this would be better if it didn't all happen at once, all this news, you know, the news of the Vita store shut down, the PS3 store shut down. And now the news that they have Naughty Dog working on a Last of Us remake. Okay? So the The Last of Us is one of my favorite games. It's an excellent game. It's one of PS3's best games. It does not need to be remade at all. It came out in 2013. It hasn't even been 10 years. And you're telling
And it's
me
already been remastered.
and you're telling me Sony is sending their best first party developer to work on a remake. Like what is going on at Sony? Please.
What's the company name again?
Naughty Dog?
No, who did Days Gone?
Ben Studio.
Oh, Ben Studio, yeah.
Ben Studio. Okay.
So Ben Studio was originally, so the story goes, Ben Studio was working on a Days Gone, or was going to pitch a Days Gone sequel. Sony wasn't really thrilled with the idea, which, you know, is unfortunate. I know Days Gone has like I guess a cult following, but it wasn't like too warmly received when it came out. I know they like really,
so boring.
they really worked hard, like patching it up and making improvements, but I guess it wasn't enough in Sony's eyes. And then they then I guess the developers there were going to work on an Uncharted spinoff, which, okay, that's kind of cool. I love Uncharted, but a Naughty Dog less Uncharted is kind of questionable to me, but we'll see. But then apparently that didn't go over too well. Like they weren't making good progress on that or something. I don't know. I'd have to double check the story to get full details. But long story short, now they're sort of backing Naughty Dog up and helping them, supporting them in making a Last of Us remake, which, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I know, like, The Last of Us is sold extremely well, was received critically extremely well. But at the same time, this rings a me of like executives making this decision just based on those two factors and not like they don't really have the pulse on what people who play video games want. Like I feel like
I mean, it kind of
maybe
reeks of a who's the CEO again? The guy
Jim Ryan.
yeah, who said he
Jim
cut
Ryan's Jim Ryan's like president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, right? And I think Herman Holst is the Sony Games division leader now. The previous head of Guerrilla Games who helmed Horizon Zero Dawn. He's the big guy at Sony now.
It just reeks of them thinking nobody wants to play an old game and thinking their cash cow is about to be outdated. Like
it really just doesn't like. I tried
doesn't-
to rationalize it, and I guess maybe because the HBO series is coming out.
oh my god, really?
What other reason could you think of?
I didn't know
Like,
there was an HBO series.
oh yeah, they're doing an HBO series for The Last of Us, and they're pouring tons of money into it. It's going to be a huge, big budget thing.
Yeah.
But like, I guess that's the only reason I can think of. Like, maybe you want to time up the release of the remake with the
I just
show,
don't
but like,
understand why they put any effort into a remake instead of just like reboxing the PS4 version. Like,
yeah, that because
I wouldn't have noticed.
yeah, like that version like works fine. Like,
Isn't
there's
it like
no
1080p 60 FPS? Like,
it's
couldn't they
4K.
yeah.
It's 4K 60 FPS.
yeah. So what are they even gonna do to it?
And
Like,
what, PS4?
Yes, for
That's-
PS4
no,
Pro,
Oh,
no.
Pro.
Yes. No, sorry. I misspoke. It's 4K 30 FPS or like I think 1440p 60 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pop it on the PS5, bump it up to 4K 60. Why do you need two studios for that? Like,
It just freaks to me of like of mismanaging your talent, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
like Naughty Dog should be working on a new IP or
Mhm.
maybe a new entry into one of their existing IPs, but like not a remake of a game that's less than 10 years old. Like it's frustrating as a Sony fan seeing these
Yeah.
decisions get made because
it's a weird choice.
it's an odd choice, but like, and maybe in the grand scheme of things, this is nothing, and I'm freaking out for no reason. But like, with these decisions back to back to back to back to back, all coming out in a sequence like this, it really sort of reeks of like Sony moving in the wrong direction. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Like, the games industry is very momentum based, barring a few exceptions, right? Like, Sony is coming off of a lot of forward momentum from the PS4 era, and I think that's carrying them right now. But like these decisions, these in my mind, poor decisions add up, right? Like, and eventually, like, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but this is slowly going to slow down their momentum and maybe even send them the other way. Meanwhile, Microsoft, sort of the opposite effect, right? Like, they were kind of in a low place in the early like 2010s. Phil Spencer made tons of positive decisions for the company, like huge, bombshell announcement after bombshell announcement, Game Pass acquisitions, like all these pro gamer moves. And now Xbox is really sort of positive in the public consciousness, where it really was like at the very other end of the spectrum 10 years ago. Like, it's
Yeah.
amazing how the public perception of Microsoft has changed in 10 years. Which gets me to the point of like, maybe, these decisions aren't going to cost Sony now, but like 10 years from now, like maybe they're going to be where Microsoft was 10 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah,
These
it's
are
hard
the
to say
sort of
because
nerdy
Sony's
things
never
I think-
lost before. They've never even really fallen behind. Like,
That's
The
true, but like
the PS3 launch was a blunder, but
I worry, I don't know. Like, I just worry that this decision just seems especially tone deaf to me. Like, why
Yeah,
are
I
you
just-
getting
I
Naughty
just
Dog,
think they're in a
Naughty
position where they're
Dog
too
of
big
all
to
people
fall.
to work on a remake,
yeah, they just seem too big to fail at this point. Like, the idea of Sony actually suffering for their poor decisions seems extremely unlikely to me.
I don't know, like, I follow this industry long enough to sort of understand that like no one's truly safe, I feel like. Eventually, yeah, what I'm getting at is like I truly feel everyone can mess up. Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, there's no guarantee for any of them. Like I really feel like any of them can mess up. And that's part of
Yeah,
what makes like following like the ups and downs of this industry so exciting. Like Nintendo, we thought was like going extinct with the Wii U, and then the very next generation they come back with one of their best consoles ever.
I never thought Nintendo was going extinct. I thought they
There,
had
okay, so let me rephrase that.
Nintendo could go
There
70
were
years
some
without making a profit and still have money to
there
spare.
were serious, I mean, not talks, but like people were conjecturing that Nintendo would go third party after Wii U.
Yeah, I never thought that that was a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be weird seeing Mario on Xbox, like,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be so weird seeing Xbox on Nintendo, which is probably going to happen here, to be perfectly
Yeah, I
honest.
think that's very soon. I think at the very least we're gonna get the Xbox Online streaming, the Game Pass stuff, XCloud, whatever.
I mean, I will go as far as to say I think we'll see Game Pass on Switch.
Maybe that'd be nice.
Yeah.
God, there's so much though that would have to be any good that Nintendo cannot deliver on. Like,
I mean, I think Microsoft will provide the cloud infrastructure. Nintendo will
yeah,
just have to, you know.
what I'm saying is if I can't do cross saves between my PC and my Switch, then Game Pass might as well not be on Switch. Like that.
Yeah. That might be tricky. Yeah, I could see them not
Yeah.
doing that.
Nintendo would never do that. Never. Nintendo barely does save transfer between two Switches. It's like a huge pain.
Yeah, that just thinking, it's funny. Like I know the Nintendo Switch Pro or whatever it's going to be called is coming out pretty imminently, and it's just kind of stressing me out thinking of how I'm going to transfer my stuff to that console.
Yeah.
Because like I know it's not going to be remotely intuitive.
No, I mean, one of the, I mean, I'd have been upset about it if I didn't end up hacking my 3DS and just downloading them myself. But I had an Ambassador 3DS. I bought a 3DS like day
Yeah.
one, and I bought a new 3DS XL when they came out because Nintendo lied to America and said we will never release a normal size new 3DS in the States. They did it about I think less than a year later. They released a normal size new 3DS. And I think XL consoles are terrible. I think taking a screen's resolution and just blowing it up to be bigger, like just drive a nail into my eye, please. Like that is the worst thing you could possibly do.
I mean, I think that's what they're doing with the new Switch, right? The bigger screen is a 720p screen.
Yeah, and I will not. If that's the case, it'll never leave a dock because that's just the
Yeah.
worst. Yeah, the Switch screen cannot be any bigger and still look as good as it does. It's not possible. And anyway. I tried to transfer my stuff over to my new 3DS XL, and my not only did my Ambassador games not transfer, they were just gone. They weren't on the old one anymore either. They just never got them back.
Oh,
Contacted Nintendo several times about it. Just totally
That's
lost
the
them.
worst.
And none of those games, I think maybe one or two of them, but the vast majority of those games were never made available on 3DS again.
God, that's just
So
That's
yeah, that was like Yoshi's Island, Metroid Fusion, just a bunch of Game Boy Advance games, and I think a couple Game Boy Color games just gone into the ether because Nintendo doesn't know how to make a transfer program. Something as simple, something that in my mind should be as simple as copying and pasting files. And I hooked when I was hacking my 3DS, I hooked it up to my computer and stuff and was looking at it, and the files were all there. The games were all taking up space on my 3DS. They were just completely inaccessible, so I
lame.
couldn't delete them either.
That sounds like Nintendo to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally incompetent when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah,
20 years behind everyone else, at least.
Yeah, I mean, like Nintendo is the one company, and we talked about this, I think, last episode. But like, I think forward compatibility is going to be a thing, despite Sony's recent moves with the PS3. I think, especially with the x86 architecture being standardized within consoles, the only caveat, like I believe it'll be a thing for Sony and Microsoft, not for Nintendo.
Because of the cartridges that are a different
Yeah,
shape every
there's
time.
once the next console comes out and they leave the Switch, that's it.
And I
You're
know
gonna
that
have to
they
build
won't,
your library from scratch again.
And they're not gonna, there's not gonna be any like transfer of downloadable games or anything. There's no way.
You know, wishful thinking, maybe one generation forward they will support Switch because Nintendo, there's precedent for that, right?
But yeah,
Like,
they have a precedent for that.
Wii
The
supported
DS,
GameCube, Wii U supported Wii. They have a precedent for
3DS
that.
supported DS, DS
Exactly,
supported Game Boy Advance.
So
It's
for
actually
both
funny. The
their-
hardware is still in. Just a fun anecdote. When you play a Game Boy game on your 3DS, you're only sort of emulating it because there's enough DS hardware in a 3DS to play DS games. There's enough Game Boy Advance hardware in a DS to play Game Boy Advance games, and there's enough Game Boy hardware in a Game Boy Advance to play Game Boy games. So you're not totally emulating. There are like small bits and pieces that have to be emulated, but you're mostly running that game natively.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, like the precedent is there for both handheld and console Nintendo games, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like the same will be true for the Switch.
Except for the Switch. The Switch is like one of Nintendo's like most recent zero backwards compatibility. It might as well be backwards compatible with the Wii U, considering
Well,
how many of the games were ported. But
yeah, but like you can't take Wii U games and put them in your Switch. But
No.
yeah, like I don't know. Like I have reasonable confidence that the next Nintendo console will support Switch games.
yeah, because I
But
don't see
not
them going
after
back
that.
to discs.
And I do firmly, like 100% now, I'm confident that Microsoft's next two consoles will support all Xbox games across the entire family, all generations. And I'm reasonably confident Sony's will too, going forward. So
If it takes any effort at all, I don't think Sony will. If it takes
that's
the
the thing,
smallest,
though. I don't like. Okay, so
Yeah.
they did do per game testing, just like Microsoft did for PS4 to PS5 compatibility.
Yeah.
So I think that's the maximum level of effort they're willing to expend on that.
and I
and
think they'll only do that one generation back. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That would be devastating to me if I lost my PS4 catalog because that is like hundreds of games at this point.
if Jim Ryan is still in charge, I can't see them allocating anything to two generations ago
man,
because he'll
like,
be looking at The
I don't
Last of
know.
Us Part 2 and thinking it's uglier than Homemade Sin.
See, okay, I
in a couple
don't
years.
like I don't like putting people down, but like Jim Ryan is really sort of like I'm not a fan of where he's taking Sony. Like I will just say that,
Yeah.
and it's tough because like there are some decisions being made at Sony that are, I think, unequivocally good decisions. Like because I think like before Jim Ryan, I don't think the whole like first party Sony games on PC initiative was a thing, right?
Yeah, and I do appreciate that.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the few positives I can attribute to him. But aside from that, like the way I guess my problem with him, or rather his beliefs, is the way he speaks about games really tells me he doesn't quote unquote get it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but he sees games as products more than like art. And I guess on some level that makes sense, right? He's the head of a business, but like it sucks when you see people like it seems like Phil Spencer does see them as both.
Mhm.
So he gets it. So I don't know.
Yeah, even if he doesn't see them as art, he respects that everyone else does.
Yeah. At the very least, he does that, right?
Yeah. I can't, I don't know a ton about Phil Spencer, but he seems to like respect the medium.
At least his public persona. It seems like he gets what the people want. So
Yeah.
and that's what's
Yeah, I mean, I
important.
definitely, if I could choose who was in the lead right now, it would be Xbox. Because I
mean,
would want to reward their consumer friendly practices.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the idea of momentum, I feel like Xbox has a lot of forward momentum right now, and I think Sony's has slowed down considerably. So we'll see if that actually translates into anything, or if it's just like the weird headcanon I have right now. I don't know.
Well, Xbox is in a really good place because the cloud service is their race to lose. No one else has anything even close to what they have going on in that space.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo will, I don't know, like unless they partner with Amazon or something crazy, they'll never even get close to winning that race.
Yeah, and Amazon doesn't have. Yeah, Amazon's not going to win that race. I don't think. Stadia's already given up.
I don't know. Like, I think Amazon is still pretty serious about breaking into gaming, and I know like I don't know, but I think both Apple and Amazon are looking at ways to make big waves in the gaming industry. Whether that means buying someone like big or like, you know, maybe making their own hardware, who knows? But I do think they're trying to keep an eye on gaming and trying
Well,
to
Apple's
they're
already
trying to
pretty
figure
strong
out
in the gaming space with Apple Arcade.
right.
It's
Like
basically a Game Pass style service on iPhone, and if I had an iPhone, I would absolutely be paying for Apple Arcade.
yeah, but I think Apple, I think Apple wants to break in more into like the AAA space, but I could be wrong about that. But
Maybe.
I
I
think
mean,
that's
there
where they're
there are
coming.
there are some like super quality games on Apple Arcade. I wouldn't sleep on it if you have an iPhone, but I
Yeah.
don't, and will never have I will never buy an Apple product.
Yeah, I don't think I will either. But yeah, we're seeing in the AAA space companies who they're going overly corporate. Like too big to fail is now a concept.
Yeah, I mean, you just see
See, I
Amazon
still
like,
disagree with that. Sorry, I just wanted to get that in. Like, I really don't think any of the big three companies right now are too big to fail.
I think PlayStation has way too much name recognition. I mean, they could fail eventually, but
Okay,
like,
I guess we have to define fail. Like, I don't think any of them will go out of business. Like, I don't think that'll happen. But
I
I do
don't
think it's
think that it is
possible.
possible for someone to pass up Sony in the next 10 years as the dominant console.
Okay, yeah. So I think I disagree with that. But yeah.
There's just too much name recognition. People think of Fortnite on their PlayStation. Like
Yeah, and I think all
when
these decisions really came to a head in the PS4 generation. Like all these associations people make with video games are made with PlayStation now because of that generation.
yeah,
So,
like
yeah.
when you see the dumb meme on Twitter about somebody complaining about their SO, it's not an Xbox. It's never an Xbox. It's always their PlayStation. When somebody who's new to gaming, they're thinking, and they're like, man, I want to get in on this Fortnite craze. They think, I should go pick up a PlayStation. When I tell my friends that have like, other than the PC gamers, like when I tell my friends, even the ones that were like huge into the Xbox 360 environment and stuff, that like for instance, Psychonauts, which used to be multi-platform, Psychonauts 2 is going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive. They say, oh, that's a bummer, because the idea of buying an Xbox does not even enter like their mind. That's just not
God,
going to happen.
this is so wild that like that can all be attributed to that horrendous E3. You
Yep.
know the one I'm referring to. Like
Yep.
that had
Don Matrick,
ripples,
yep.
that had ramifications that Xbox could never have even fathomed at the time.
Yeah.
Just wild to me. But so my counter argument to all that is Game Pass is momentum, man. Like there's so many like Game Pass subscribers, the number keeps going up and up and up. And like eventually when Microsoft gets to the point, they're still acquiring first party studios, the first party studios they do have are working on games. I think Microsoft eventually wants to get to the point where they can release maybe a game or two of considerable quality every month for free on Game Pass. Like I think that's their end game, right?
Yeah,
And when
I
they
agree,
get to that
and they're
point,
getting there.
yeah, and
But
when they
and
get
I
to
think
that
Game
point,
Pass is going to make them a ton of money. But my counterpoint is that almost everyone I know that has Game Pass, that I only know a single person. No, sorry, two people that play Game Pass on an actual Xbox. It's all PC. Like I haven't
yeah,
seen
I
the
mean,
numbers, obviously,
I don't know,
but I
like
wouldn't be surprised if there are more Xbox Game Pass PC subscribers than Xbox Game Pass subscribers.
yeah, I would be very interested in those numbers. Yeah, and I don't know, just from my experience, I don't know if it's a good idea to ever fully believe your anecdotal
Oh yeah, no,
evidence.
it's definitely
But
not, because I
yeah,
only know every single person I know that has an Xbox has Game Pass, but
yeah, I mean,
that's
like
two people.
unless it just doesn't make sense to have an Xbox and not have Game Pass unless you're only like buying maybe a game or two a year, right?
Yeah,
So
because it's like it comes out, even if you're paying full price, which nobody is. It's like $120 a year.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
But there's also rumbling swirling around of Sony working on a countermeasure to Game Pass. So I don't know. Like it's I always find the industry something like fascinating to study. Like the moves like these big companies make always intrigue me because they have huge ramifications on the way we play games and just the industry at large.
yeah. I just think Sony values their games too much to put it
Yeah,
in
I
Game
like I
Pass, if that
don't
makes
see
sense.
them like I think maybe they would like do a Game Pass for older for first party games that are maybe over a year or two old. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's not competitive with Xbox Game Pass. Not
Yeah.
really. Well, it would be for me. I'd probably, wait until the end of the gen, pick up a cheap PlayStation and play through all the classics for a month, and then sell all of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, like I said, like to me, I want Sony to do well. Like Sony is my favorite of the big three. Like they make the games I resonate with the most. But lately they've been making decisions that really make me sort of turn my head to them. Like,
Yeah, it's
and I
definitely
don't
not
like
the
that.
same. It's not the same feeling I had with Don Matrick. It's certainly not nearly as bad.
Yeah, it's not nearly as bad. Like
But
nothing
it
will
is
ever
it's
be
a
as bad as
similar
that.
feeling. Like when
Yeah.
when that happened, I wanted Xbox to fail, and when PlayStation does things like this, I want them to fail.
Yeah, I will say that like it seems like, that was the big mistake. Like I think forever in all of gaming history, we can always refer to that Xbox presentation as the big mistake, right?
Yeah.
But Sony has been making, in my mind at least, like so many people will probably disagree with this, but these decisions Sony have been making lately are little mistakes, right? And like none of them compared to the big mistake. But when you keep making little mistakes, eventually it'll have an impact, I think. So be interesting to see if anything comes of those mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've said my piece on that. Do you guys have anything else to say?
No, I
Not
don't think
really.
so.
Okay, because I want to talk about what I've been playing because I've been playing a lot. So,
Good, 'cause I haven't played anything.
oh no, okay. So, okay, I mentioned Disco Elysium at the beginning, and I'll get to that. But the first game I want to mention that I've been playing is Valorant. So this is another example.
Because you're a PC boy now.
Yeah, I've been playing PC games lately. Yeah,
Yeah.
would have thunk it, Okay, but okay, so what I'm about to say is just going to make you roll your eyes. So I've been playing Valorant with a controller.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
It doesn't
No.
always have gyro.
And Valorant does not support controllers.
Wait. Emmett, do you have gyro on?
I actually do. I tried turning
Okay.
gyro on.
I'll leave
At
it
first
then.
I didn't. At first I didn't.
No, a controller with gyro is not significantly worse than a mouse.
Dude, I don't know about that. Like it's just I don't know.
It takes a long time to
I
learn.
feel like I have Parkinson's disease or something when I'm playing this game with gyro.
Why are you not using a mouse and keyboard?
Dude, I will not use a mouse and keyboard. That's just one step too far for me.
Oh my.
Okay, let me take a step back. The mouse doesn't bother me so much as the keyboard. Like I just can't stand the idea of using a keyboard for video game inputs. Feels dirty. I know
You're talking blasphemy right now.
That
I'm
is
weird.
blasphemy.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so I've been playing Valorant with the controller. It does not officially support controllers, so I installed a third party.
Are you playing alone or are you playing with friends?
I'm playing with friends.
They must hate you.
Yeah, I mean they keep asking me to play. Like I'm not barging in on their play sessions. But yeah, I go like 3-30 every game. It's like I'm really bad. But it's fun, I like it.
Game.
But okay, so let me finish that thought. So I've been playing with a controller, not officially supported. I installed a third-party program to map all my controller inputs to mouse and keyboard inputs. So that's running in the background while I play Valorant.
Why? Why'd you should have just used Steam Big Picture.
It's not on Steam. Valorant's not on
I know,
Steam.
but you can run any game through Steam and use Steam Big Picture. And
Yeah.
native DualShock 4 support and everything. Or I think it supports the what's DualSense as well now.
Yeah, so I was playing with DualSense. I was using ASD. I don't know if you guys have heard of that program.
Yeah, I mean, if it's working for you, fine. But
Yeah.
I imagine you'd have a more positive experience.
No, I mean like Valorant. So the issue with Valorant is like it's not made for controller/console play at all, right? Like there's no aim assist.
No, how do you
So-
do the shop? How do you like?
Oh, I mean I just do like the right stick on the controller works as a
Yeah.
mouse. So
Yeah, God, that sounds horrible.
I know it's highly degenerate and extremely stupid, but that's the
Yeah.
way I do things. But yeah, so aside from like the input, like the game is fun. Like it's really good. It has so much depth, like I can barely wrap my head around it. And I guess this is another example of a game of a genre like I've never really tried. Like I never got into those hyper competitive like FPS games like CS:GO. But this is absolutely one of those games, right?
I was
It's
gonna
like,
say CS:GO and Valorant are like the only two I would put in that category. Maybe Rainbow Six Siege.
yeah, maybe Rainbow Six. So yeah, so Valorant is like if CS:GO and Overwatch had a baby. That's how
And it
I
was
would
actually
describe it.
good.
Yeah. So like it's very much a skill-based shooter with like hero abilities, but the hero abilities are so, I think, understated to where like it really is just using those to supplement your
Yeah,
FPS
it's
skill.
it's like Apex Legends level hero abilities, kind of
I would
like
say
that.
like I don't know. I feel like Apexes are even more extreme than Valorants. Valorants are very like they. It's very simple. It's like either make a wall or like you stun or
I
like
don't know. Phoenix's ultimate is literally just be able to die and come back. That's pretty
yeah,
strong.
like while it's active. Yeah,
Yeah,
but like you die in like a shot to the head. Like
you
it's
die in
not
the
like
same number of shots. Yeah, I mean you don't
yeah.
get any weaker or stronger, but yeah.
But yeah, like I mentioned, I'm extremely bad at the game. But for some reason, my
Wonder
friends still keep
why.
asking me to play.
Whatever could be doing that.
Yeah, who
Yeah, I mean,
knows?
I'm sure I'll improve with if
Why
I
don't?
go mouse and
So
keyboard.
okay, let me throw this at you because it may not have crossed your mind, but why not a hybrid? Why not use a mouse to aim and your controller to move?
How would that even work?
What do you mean? How'd it work? You hold the controller and you use the stick to walk
But like, what
around.
about the abilities and stuff? Like, what do I
You
press?
D-pad. You would have the D-pad, and you would have the L1 and or yeah, L1 and L2.
Yeah, I don't know about
Plus
that.
clicking the stick. I mean, you're not losing that many buttons,
I don't.
especially if
That
you have a
just
gaming
it
mouse.
just feels that just sounds extremely awkward to me. I don't know. But
So does playing Valorant with a controller, Ahmed.
hey, people do it. I looked it up. I googled it. There's dozens of us.
I'm not sure there are. I would believe there are 10, but a dozen is too many.
Well, anyway, yeah. So like, yeah, I get the opponents like call me expletives every game because I'm really bad, and
Yeah. At
and
least it's the opponents doing it, not
yeah,
your
no, I
team.
mean like my team is generally pretty friendly to me. I
Yeah.
feel bad though. Like I tell them like, hey, if you want to like play ranked or something, I'll leave, and they're like, no, no, you should stay. I'm like, but why? But uh, so yeah, I've been playing Valorant, and it's quite fun, and I have been getting better, but I'm still extremely bad, just like comically bad.
No, but really, if you have gyro, you're not at that big of a disadvantage. I overstate it, but
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I just have to get used to gyro because like this is my
gyro
first.
takes a long time to get used to, but
This is
so would a
my
mouse for you.
yeah.
So
This is my first experience with gyro. I've
if
never
if you
used
choose
gyro.
gyro, like if you choose gyro and you choose to get good at it over choosing mouse and choosing to get good at it, like those are both probably equally large walls for you to overcome.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that like a mouse, you have some, you've used a mouse before for something, just not precision. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've seen people play with gyro. I think there are pros that play
There's
controller
a
and gyro.
handful. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a few. But
and
yeah, so
people have done tests in like aim labs and stuff, and the difference between gyro and mouse could easily be attributed to lack of experience with the gyro in most cases.
yeah, that's really interesting to me. I knew like theoretically gyro was always like semi-competitive and certainly better than just stick and controller, but I didn't know how close it was
It's very
truly to
close. Yeah.
mouse. Yeah.
It actually really upsets me that the Xbox Series X doesn't have a gyro in the controller. I think they've seriously handicapped themselves with that.
Yeah, I mean like so might just be my lack of experience with gyro coming out, but like do people really even does the common gamer, I guess, like even know about gyro aiming? Like is that even a thing people do?
Nintendo gamers do, yeah.
Well, yeah.
There was a huge push to get gyro added to Fortnite when it came out on Switch. People were very upset that it wasn't there, and it got added later.
Oh, it did get added. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I think I'm gonna keep sticking with controller and just getting better at gyro.
Yeah, yeah. If
But
you're using the gyro, there's no good reason not to.
but yeah, it's very difficult. Like Valorant it's a very, very good game. It's an extremely competitive game. Like you can't not be competitive and play this. Or I mean, you could and like
I
just
was
be
gonna say
like
that's not true. I do it, but
and just be like terrible like I am. But
yeah. Well, I don't do too bad. I'm usually not. I'm usually middle of the road for my team.
I
Uh,
think
but I
I've
play with the
been
worst
I
of the worst.
I've been last every time I played except for once. I was like fourth
Hmm.
out of five. So I don't know.
Sometimes you get like sometimes you'll be playing a really bad game and then suddenly get a full team wipe. Like you'll get your own ace and you'll just be like your mind will be blown and you'll just like be totally useless the rest of the game because you're just fried from that one power
Yeah,
play.
no, it's a very momentum based game, like, and it's strategic in that, like, I've been learning things like, like if we do bad the first round, like often my teammates will be like, okay, save your money so we can get like the best guns on the third round and then
Yeah.
really start coming back. So
Yeah, the
like
strategy to it's really
there's
interesting.
there's so many layers to this game, and I really respect it from like just the perspective of just how much is going on at any given time in that game.
And
I
if you
just
get like a couple wins in a row, you can seriously steamroll because you can like get the money so that even if you do die, you can get like the best guns again, and you can
yeah
like buy guns for your teammates. Do
yeah
you have your teammates been doing that and stuff?
yeah. We've bought things for each other, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good system.
it's certainly it's very momentum based. It's it's kind of it's almost like a sport in that sense. Like once one team has the momentum, it can be very difficult to get it back.
Yeah, yeah, but it's very smart that they have you like they take a hard break in the middle of a round, you know.
In the
And I've
middle of
I've seen
a
some
match, you
nasty
mean?
comebacks. Yeah, in the middle of a match. Sorry.
Yeah.
Where you switch sides, and I've seen some nasty comebacks. I've been down what is it, 13 to win? I've been down
Yes.
11 and come back to like 10 points before. I didn't
But
win that
yeah,
one,
that's
but
wild.
yeah,
No, yeah, I mean, I think that hard break it's like halftime, right? Like it's
yeah.
you reset, you switch sides, and then like it's
You lose
basically
your momentum.
it's a clean slate again.
Yeah.
But
Also, I am pistol rounds is my favorite round of any Valorant game because I am better with pistols than most of the people I've played with for some reason.
that's wild. I mean, like
Yeah.
I feel like it takes more skill to use a pistol, right?
Yeah, but for some reason I have that. I'm very good with pistols, and then once people have actually good guns, I can't compete anymore.
Huh. Maybe you're just buying the wrong guns.
Maybe. Yeah, I definitely never found my loadout in Valorant. I don't know the names of any of the guns because me and my friends had like stupid nicknames for them. So I'm trying to sit here and remember what they were called. There was like a big machine gun that my buddy Antonio
Odin?
always gets, and he cleans up with it.
Odin's like the big
Yeah, it's the
expensive
Odin.
machine gun.
Yeah, yeah. And then there was like an equivalent to an op that he liked to get to. I forget what it was
Yeah,
called.
right.
The operator. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered that it sounded like op, which is very
Yeah,
intentional, I'm sure.
and Valorant also has that sort of like skin-based economy that CS:GO has as well, I think.
Yeah.
But like I can't be bothered with any of that. Like all my teammates have all these like crazy skins and like death animations and like gun skins and all this stuff, and I'm just like have all the plain stuff, like no emblem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know Mike. I know you were super into Valorant for a while. You still might be. Like, what are your
Not
thoughts on all
really.
this?
I haven't played Valorant in so long that I just kind of tuned out.
Yeah.
I heard the word Valorant and I'm like, oh, time to tune out.
Yeah, I don't
Really?
even have
Yeah,
it installed on my new PC because I
You
just
you were like super into it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all we're getting.
That's all we're getting. I'm
my
so
friends who
burnt
play
out on
Valorant
it.
are super sweaty, and I can't keep
Oh
up.
yeah, dude. My friends are disgustingly sweaty, but somehow they still want me to play. I don't get it. It's a paradox.
They want you to get a match made with worse players so that they can clean up.
I mean not really. Like we play unranked whenever I play. Like they play
It's still
ranked.
skill-based matchmaking, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but like I mean what's the point, I guess. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, sometimes
But,
it's nice to just dunk on people.
Yeah, maybe. I mean we still lose a lot of the games I play in, so
Yeah.
yeah, but despite being bad, like I still enjoy it quite a bit. So that's
Yeah.
good. Okay, so
Do you want somebody else to take a turn, or?
yeah, do you want to take a turn? I have like two more games.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk very briefly about two games here. I want to say I've been playing Apex Legends still. found my hero or my legend or whatever they're called in that game. I love playing as Horizon, super fun character. Found my loadout, which is a longbow and a Spitfire, and finally got a win 2 days ago. And I am not a very excitable person. I imagine neither of you have ever heard me yell, but I actually like stood up and slammed my chair back and shouted. I was so excited when I got the win.
Yeah, I mean, like these competitive games can have that effect on you. Like
Me and my buddy
definitely
Tyler
can.
we lost our minds. We were so excited. I terrified my cat, and she sprinted up the stairs. And yeah, because I had just gone total radio silence. Because my buddy died, and it was me against two people. He'd weakened one of them, and yeah, I was able to whittle him down, and it was just a masterclass. Really, I take full credit. Got kill leader that round. I had like 9 kills or something crazy. It was bananas. And then the other one is Factorio. Factorio, I have started over again because I am pretty addicted to it. I started playing the space exploration mod, which I expected to just kind of add stuff onto the end. But it says you have to start a new save file to get the full experience, so I did because I kind of wanted to do that anyway. And it changes and vastly complicates the recipes of every single thing in the game. So like,
Okay, so I always get these two confused. Have you been
Factorio
playing?
is 2D.
Okay, so you've been playing Factorio,
Yes.
and before you were playing Satisfactory.
Satisfactory I played a long time ago.
Okay, so the game you've been playing lately is Factorio.
Yes, I played Factorio.
Okay.
I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I beat it, vanilla, and now I'm playing a mod for it called Space Exploration.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the space exploration mod, theoretically, it adds other planets and like space stations and stuff you can build. Right now, it's just made the actual progression of the game way more complicated for me, and I'm really enjoying it. My base is overrun with biters right now, and I need to drive them off. But I'm not like at a point where I find that impossible. I do really. This is not a knock against my friend at all, but I seriously regret playing my first time through Factorio with someone who had played it before. I think it really took away the thrill of learning and like building really terrible unoptimized factories and then realizing how terrible they were and doing better. I really didn't get to experience that because and I wouldn't have gotten to experience it to a huge extent because I did have my satisfactory knowledge going in. But definitely I can't blame my friend at all because he's like desperate for somebody to play this game with. But I think I would have had a better time playing it single player or with people who'd never played before. Or if
Yeah,
you just
so maybe I just
built
forgot,
a-
but I didn't even know this game was multiplayer.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and the multiplayer is kind of weirdly implemented. Like I don't think it's really balanced around multiplayer. It's literally just the same game but with more people running around, and it's really fun. And totally works like that. And I think there's some cool stuff you can do by having a bunch of people running around working on different things. There's like room for specialization. Like, Ty was really good at trains, and I'm still not so great at trains. And if we were going to play together again, I would probably have him do the trains this time because he was good at that. But then there was stuff that I think I wasn't at the time. But there's some things that I think I have a better handle on. Like, we don't agree on how to do a core structure of a factory, really. There was some clashing on that. And I would try to dominate that, I think, next time. I like to do a main. What?
Sorry, I was just gonna say you said Factorio is all 2D, right?
Factorio is 2D, yeah. Satisfactory is the one that is
Interesting,
3D. And Satisfactory just got a big update too.
So I
I'm
don't think
turning to that.
we've ever I know we played Satisfactory before on the show, but I don't think we ever played Factorio. Is that right?
That is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We could do it on Game Talk Plays or something. We could do a playthrough with the three of us.
Yeah,
but
we keep mentioning Game Talk Plays, but it doesn't exist yet.
No. No, and with the I got that vaccine flowing through my veins. I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna be a little less free.
Yeah, I
in a
got my
couple
shot
weeks.
yesterday. Yeah, I got it yesterday, and after 2 weeks, I'm ready to rumble.
Yeah, I'm gonna be going into Charleston and visiting my family, which I haven't gotten to do in a year.
Oh wow, yeah.
So, but yeah, those are the games I've been playing. Just kind of rushed through them because I've already talked about both of them on the show.
Okay, I got 2 more. Mike, do you have anything?
I got back into BattleTech, which, God, that game's hard.
BattleTech?
BattleTech.
It's Mech Warrior turn-based tactics game.
Mech Warrior turn-based tactics. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I do
So
like mechs.
the game's really hard. The tutorial mission, I lost 2 people.
Like lost, like
Yeah, it's
permanently.
permadeath. They're
So this
permanently dead
sounds
for my playthrough.
this sounds like Fire Emblem with robots.
I got too cocky and lost two entire mechs, and I'm playing on normal. I'm not playing on a hard difficulty.
Yeah.
If you get careless, unlike XCOM, if you get careless, you're gonna pay for it. I feel a lot of it. Considering both of you have never played it, a lot of it is very, very similar to XCOM, except mechs have parts. So, say if you blow the arm off a mech, its arm's gone. It loses whatever attached to that. Or if you knock out the torso, the entire mech dies. But you get less salvage, which it's neat.
So is it like a strategy game, or
Yeah.
are you like actively controlling
You
the mechs as
are.
you fight?
It's exactly like XCOM. Imagine XCOM
Okay,
with
yeah.
big burly mechs.
Gotcha. Okay.
That sounds really good.
It's really fun.
What's it
It's
called?
hard.
Mech?
BattleTech.
BattleTech. Okay. I'm gonna have to mute my mic so I can type that.
But it's a solid game.
Good art style.
Great art style. It's not hard to do mechs.
Is it like Japanese style mechs or like Western style mechs?
Western style mechs. It's based
Okay.
off of BattleTech / Mech Warrior tabletop. So they're very realistic looking mechs. Like they don't have big shoulder plates or whatever. Some of them
They're not Gundams.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
They're a very realistic view of mechs. Which it works for the game.
Yeah, it looks really fun.
Oh, it's a really fun game. I
Well
think I talked about it on the show previously. Like
Yeah, maybe a long time ago, because I don't really remember this.
I think it
Yeah.
launched.
Yeah, I don't remember you ever talking about it.
Well, I went to play it at the time. My computer wasn't beefy enough to actually play a game. So now that I actually have a beefy computer, I've been going back and revisiting it. And
Nice.
I'm glad I waited.
Cool. You got anything else?
I also started playing Pacer.
Pacer?
Yes, and I discovered and I really like anti-grav racers like last year or so, and Pacer just fills that itch along with Redout.
Redout's fun.
So is Pacer like a arcade racer?
It's very similar to Wipeout, although I've heard it compared to Wipeout, but I've never played a Wipeout game.
Okay.
It's very much an arcade anti-grav racer. It's focused on being fast and combat. You get guns. Why not?
Combat racing is cool. Like,
Combat racing was it's a lot of fun, but I'm finding the early game way too easy. Which I know it sounds like a bad complaint, but I just think it's too easy. Like I'm getting first.
Can
in
you-
most
is there-
games.
is there no like difficulty option?
There is, but I haven't unlocked it yet. So maybe it'll get harder.
Okay.
Maybe, but right now getting first is super easy. And I'm not great at anti-grav racers.
Yeah, I imagine that could get disorienting pretty quickly.
Nah. They usually anti-grav racers will make the tracks large enough to, even though you're going at like super speeds, you're not that disoriented.
So like I imagine like half the
but-
time you're like on like the side of the track or even like on the roof of the track or something. Is that
No,
okay?
They don't do that in anti-grav racers. Maybe Redout does that, but I don't think I've seen that in Pacer yet. Like Redout's very much designed off of the old school you're going really fast feel. Pacer feels more like a traditional racing game,
Gotcha. Okay.
which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I think I enjoyed Redout more.
So is this one also in VR? I know Redout was.
No, it's not in VR. Redout in VR is a whole nother trip that I don't want to experience ever again. But that's all I have to say of Pacer. I haven't played it that much. So
Yeah.
whoever has another game to talk about, you can go ahead and talk about it because I think I have one more.
Yeah, so I'll go next. It's just really interesting. I know, like based off the earlier topics in the show, like I saw like an article pop up on my phone. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan needs to create a better narrative, and yeah, that's exactly like the topic of the show, basically, right? Like that's exactly what I feel. Like he needs to create a better narrative for Sony, and
Yeah.
that just tells me that I'm not the only one thinking that. So, okay, so I've my second game out of three that I want to talk about is this tiny little indie game I've been playing called Dwarf Romantic. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that's the best my American brain can do. So this little game, it's a very zen game, and it's basically like a city building puzzle game, right? So like you build like this idyllic like farmland, village, forests, lakes, rivers, like this landscape out, and you build it out like by matching hexes, right? So you start out with like an empty board, you plunk down a hex that could contain like either plains or forest or village or river or any combination of those things together. And the idea is you put hexes next to each other and you try to match like things. So like if you have a forest on the left side of your hex, you place a hex to the right of it, preferably with forest on the right part of that hex. So you create like these landscapes and you get like multipliers and stuff, and eventually like you build out like this big, beautiful looking landscape. And it's really sort of chill and fun.
Sounds chill and fun.
Sounds
Yeah.
so fun.
I want to name the studio because I know they're small. So bear with me while I look this up. Dwarf Romantique, probably. Tucana Interactive. Four game design students from Berlin, Germany. Okay, so yeah. If any of that sounded appealing, definitely go check it out. I think it was only like $9. So. And then, Mike, do you have something else?
Yeah, I do. I've finally gotten into proper VR games, and I've been playing Blade and Sorcery. And let me tell you, no other game makes me feel like a psychopath like Blade and Sorcery.
Blade and Sorcery.
Yeah, it's physics-based combat with swords and whatever, or whatever you want to mod in. Like I think I modded in a lightsaber.
Yeah.
But it just feels so visceral. I love playing it. Like I'll come out of VR all sweaty and sore.
Yeah.
I'm just swatting things.
Yeah, that was my experience with Beat Saber.
I mean, that's my experience. Yeah, like a lot of like the more active VR games, they really got to solve like the sweat problem.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
don't know if they can though.
Yeah, it's not a solvable problem. You work up
Yeah.
the sweat because it's an active game. That's like telling football to solve the sweat problem.
It's just weird because like you're confined in this little thing and it just sort of gets dank,
Yeah, no. I mean, they need to solve a cleanliness problem, maybe.
Right.
I feel like my Oculus Quest is eventually going to have like a fine sweat stain on that cushion.
Yeah, you're probably gonna wanna.
But yeah, Blade and Sorcery, it's all physics based. So when your sword hits something, it hits something. Everything's modeled pretty realistically. If I stab somebody, it's going through and it doesn't feel arbitrary. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Like there's not much I can say about it other than if you have VR or play it, just buy it. It's $20 like most VR products.
I'm gonna have to try it. I haven't played it yet.
30. I've been noticing that a lot of VR products are like $30.
Yeah, it's an expensive and they're typically very short, so it feels very. Believe it or not, VR is an expensive hobby, but
even more so than regular video games.
But I don't know. Have you played Half-Life Alyx, Mike?
Not yet. I've been waiting on my other controller.
That's the big one. Right. That's the VR game.
Ever since I played Half-Life Alyx, I have difficulty getting into other VR games just because it's kind of spoiled me.
The Mario 64 of VR.
Yeah, it's like playing. It's a lot like playing Mario 64, and then going to the rest of your VR library is like being stuck with Gex or something like
Gex.
Yeah.
Or Ball on Wonderworld.
I don't know about
Wonder
that.
World.
I mean, they're good games. They're just not.
Gosh, I watched that donkey video and I just couldn't stop laughing, dude. That just looks comically bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready for me to give my final thoughts?
Yeah.
Take us home.
Yeah, so I've been playing Disco Elysium. So
What?
this is one of those games that like every time I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about it. You know, I'm sure we've all had those games in our
Factorio.
lives before. Yeah.
Right now.
Right. um but like there's just something about this world and its characters and it's just I want to be in it even though it's a very dreary and depressing place, you know. So to give you a quick synopsis without I'm going to avoid as many spoilers, or no, let me rephrase that. I will avoid all spoilers and only give you some context as to the beginning of the game. So Disco Elysium is a detective game. So you are an amnesiac detective. You wake up in a trashed hotel room with no memory of who you are, or you don't even know you're a detective. You have no memory of who you are, where you are. You have no memory of anything in the world. You're basically like a blank slate. And as you wake up and sort of explore your immediate surroundings, you get all this context clues like, okay, there's been a murder, you're a detective, you have to solve it. And then the game basically opens up from there, right? So, and that's as much of the plot details I'm willing to divulge. So the core of Disco Elysium comes from just interacting with other people, right? So, and the way you interact, so the gameplay is talking to people, which is really weird to say, but like even like the stats you have all feed into whether you can like talk to certain people in different ways. And let me expand on that a little bit. So when Disco Elysium starts, you don't get to create your character. It's very much the story of this man who doesn't even remember his own name. You have to discover your own name throughout the process of the game. But what you can configure for this character are his 4 primary stats. So there are 4 stats in this game: intellect, psyche, physique, and motorics. And those 4
What's
stats are
motorics?
like hand-eye coordination,
Oh, like a
reaction
dexterity
speed.
sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe this game was made by an Estonian studio, which is really cool. But yeah, anyway, so Disco Elysium, you have these 4 stats: intellect, psyche, physique, and motorics. And each of those 4 stats is subdivided into 6 skills. So there's a total of 24 skills in the game. And these skills basically constitute your interactions with the world and your inner thoughts, right? So like obviously like skills like reaction speed and stuff like that, like the checks for those in the world will be obvious, right? Like if you can react fast enough to something, you can react to it and that'll potentially change the next thing that happens in the game. But like what the more interesting thing is the more cerebral skills like empathy, logic, and like really out there things like something called like Inland Empire and Shivers, which is like how in tune you are with the city and stuff like that. So these skills constitute your thoughts, and your thoughts are constantly playing out as you're having conversations with people. So you'll talk to people, and then if a certain one of your skills is high enough, that thought will present itself and sort of color how you guide the conversation. So it's very much like you can play as like a completely stupid person with like 0 intellect and just bumble your way through the world if you want to play that way, or you can pick, you know, like play someone with super high intellect and psyche, you know, so super high like emotional and rational intelligence, but very low physique and motorics. So you're like weak and like maybe you can't pass the physical checks.
Very relatable.
Yeah. Yeah. Guess which one I played as. But yeah. So like it's fascinating to me. Like this character has 24 different basically philosophies / thoughts running through his head at any given time. And what's really cool is like some of them contradict each other, right? Like some of them like, and all of this is voiced, by the way. So like text, lots of text pops up on the side of your screen, and it's voiced. And the narrator for this game is brilliant. It's like the deepest, most rumbly voice I've ever heard, and it's just hypnotic.
Very noir.
Yeah, it's but yeah. So like this so as you go through the world, you get as you like complete quests, like get closer to solving the case, solve like ancillary quests related to the case, you get experience points. You can dump experience points and skill points into these 24 skills and level up the skills you think are relevant. So like by the end of the game, I had like a really high empathy stat. I had a really high inland empire stat, which is like a sort of like how in tune you are with like the cosmic surroundings. It's like it can get really sort of abstract. And I had like a really high shivers stat, which was like how in tune I was with the city itself. So yeah, very, very bizarre. Like I've never seen stats like this in a video game before, you know, like it's a very sort of conceptual take on like leveling up skills. And yeah, so and in addition to that, you have something called the thought cabinet, right? So as you progress through the world, based on off different things you do, you gain different thoughts, right? And like you, I don't think it's possible to get all the thoughts in a single playthrough. I think by the time I finished the game, I had only collected like half the thoughts in the game. And you can only hold a certain number of thoughts at the same time. So like once you reach that cap, you have to like erase a thought and add a new thought. And these thoughts give you like different buffs in the game, but like primarily like for a story purpose, they focus on like you discovering like what kind of person you are, right? So since this character has amnesia, he's basically a blank slate, so you can be whoever you want. So like I ended up being like I think it's funny, like I was a moralist and I always apologized to people. So I got an achievement called like sorriest cop in the world. And the game really sort of pokes fun at you for whatever you end up whatever kind of person you end up being. Like so basically the game gave me grief for just saying sorry a lot.
Yeah.
But like you can be like a communist, a socialist, fascist, like you can there's all sorts of different political ideologies you can like align yourself with in this game. And yeah, and I think, you know, this is just talking about like this. I've just been rambling on about the skills, but let me just talk about the world for a second. I don't want to give away too much, but all I'll say is that this game takes place in a fictional city called Martinez, in a fictional, I think, country called Revachol, right? And what's interesting about this game, as you discover very early on, is that it's not set on Earth, right? It's set on, you know, whatever planet they're on, but it's not Earth, right? They have a different history and they have different terms for certain things that exist in their world that have no real world analog. And I know that sounds really weird, and it is. And it's extremely disorienting when you first play the game because, like, they're saying all these things like pale and isola and like these words that make no sense, that everyone around you knows what those things are, but you don't. And you have to sort of discover what those things mean. And as you discover what those things mean, you discover the nature of the world around you and how it's really sort of bizarre and disturbing. And that was definitely one of the highlights for me, that culminated like on this completely optional side quest, like just learning about the nature of the world you're playing in and how really kind of it fills you with a sense of existential dread, which I guess, I don't know, I'm weird because like that's really appealing to me. Um, but just playing through this game, experiencing its weird, bizarre, and dark world filled with like characters who are written so well. Like they're written, there's no like cheesiness in this game, and if it's cheesy, it knows it's being cheesy, and it's being cheesy on purpose, right? The writing in this game is very smart. More than a few times, you know, like I'm a native English speaker, but I've like had to like dictionary.com certain words just because like the language that's used, like it wasn't written by a native English speaker, but they have such a weird command of the English language. They use words in certain ways I didn't know you could use them, and words that I never heard of before. And I think there are over like 1 million words in this game, right? Like there's like like the game is basically just its writing. That's the core of this game. And that's what makes it so appealing. But yeah, like just journeying through this world, discovering who I am, like very much a journey of self-discovery, and eventually, you know, like attempting to solve the murder. Like that's the core of this game. And I know those things sound kind of generic, but like just the way Disco Elysium pulls it off, it does it in a way that I've never really, experienced in a video game before. And like I said, this was the first CRPG I ever played, so I think that doubly compounded on the feeling of like wonder for me, because like it was a totally new experience in terms of like a genre I never played before, in addition to being a really like in addition to being an extremely compelling experience in its own right. So Disco Elysium, man.
Yeah, definitely sounds attractive to me.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I rambled long enough. So I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you, Connor and Mike. You can catch us at @podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us in any podcast service you use, and click the link in the description of this podcast and join our Discord and talk to us there. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Talk to you guys later. See ya.